All right. Well, I had to redo this video only because there were certain things I left out of it. So I decided to do the whole video all over again. Just woke up, really. I've been up for an hour and only had like a cup of coffee. So I'm still trying to, wake up. But this is a video that says don't move to Seattle if. And I say this because I have a lot of people over the time say that, Seattle sucks and, he talks all the good things about Seattle, but talk about the bad things. And, the Seattle is this way and the Seattle freeze and all this. I think it depends on the person, right? It is so dependent on the person because Seattle is a way different place than any other place in the area. You can move from St. Louis to Indianapolis to Chicago to Detroit to Atlanta to Charlotte and back down to Nashville. And all of those places, while they're different, it's not so different to where you couldn't make it, right? I'm from Bowling Green, Kentucky, but I've been to Nashville many a times. I know how people are. Lived in Cincinnati, Ohio, lived in Indianapolis, Indiana, lived in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And even though Albuquerque is way different than a lot of those places, it's still not as huge of a jump. It's a culture shock for people by far. If you're from the Midwest or from the East and you go to Albuquerque, you're going to experience culture shock. It's just a completely different area, but not so much of a culture shock as you would when you come here. Even because the West Coast by itself takes some transitioning to get used to. It's a completely different place than the rest of the country. When you consider even the West Coast, California is way different than the Pacific Northwest, meaning Washington and Oregon. And even when you consider that, Portland and on up to Seattle is a completely different vibe than the rest of the state, right? Because Spokane and Seattle, you can't compare the two. When you look at, Bend, Oregon, and Eugene, it's not the same as Portland, not at all. But even when you break it down even more, the vibe of Portland and Seattle are way different. Even the vibe from Tacoma to Seattle is way different. I live in Tacoma, obviously. Way, way different. So it's hard for people to adjust because it is a hard transition. I think for young people who come here, they come to Seattle and they think that they are the stuff, right? When I was younger, I thought that too. Like, shoot, I went to this school, I got this type of degree, and here I am. And so I was able to get this particular job. So I'm just going to go there and I'm just going to, they have this vision of people did back in the day with New York. Like, I'm going to come there just wide open. I'm going to own this town. That's not how it is, right? People come here and they look at all the glass towers and all the stuff and they said, yep, that city has money. And it does. Seattle, like San Francisco, up front tells you it has money. I've never been to a place that has so many glass buildings. Not New York, not Chicago. So many glass, modern age buildings than in Seattle. It's very similar to Vancouver, Canada. It's just such a modern, futuristic city. So when people come here, they think, yeah, I'm going to live either right in downtown or Ballard or any of those other places, Bellevue, which is a little bit farther out, which is also a glassy city too in terms of the high rises. And these are expensive places. So people then find that when they get here, that their degree, while it's important, there are people who have that same type of degree and it has a lot more experience. It's ultra competitive here for jobs. And so that throws people off. People say it's competitive everywhere. Not the case. Not the case. Again, the places I've lived, and I've lived in different sections. I lived in every time zone except for over in Hawaii. And it's not the same. Not at all the same. Yeah, there's competitiveness, but Seattle is a different animal altogether. There are people who are coming here from all over the place. It's a city that I always like to say it's an import city. It brings people from other states here. It hires people from other places to here often. And you have people that have a lot of experience. So it really does knock people a few pegs down when they realize they're not all that, right? Maybe they are someplace else, but here They're a dime a dozen. So that's one of the big realities, right? Is that, hey, yeah, you're going to be making some money, but don't try to live right above your means or right at your means or any of that just because you have a wonderful job. Live within your means. So that means live right where you can easily afford to pay your rent, pay your bills, and still be able to explore the city. Because a lot of times people don't do that. They go to these expensive neighborhoods and communities and they look at the pretty posh buildings and they go to work in a pretty posh tower and they think that they're living the best life. And then they realize this sucks because I don't have any money to do anything. I can't make friends because Seattle is a introverted city, right? A lot of the cities, when I went to Milwaukee, when I went back home, and even when I went to Nashville, Indianapolis, those are more of an extroverted city. The Midwest, the South, people will say hi to you. You know, even if I drive down the road in some of the country towns, they'll wave hi to you. You go to the store, people will say hi to you. You go to a bar, go out to eat, people sitting next to you might talk to you. Here, not the case. The reason why people say Seattle has the Seattle freeze is because it's an introverted city. And being that I'm an introvert, I do well here in Seattle. I have a harder time in Tacoma because Tacoma is not an introverted city, right? People want to talk to you. I'm not that big into talking to strangers, right? It's just not my thing. But for people who are an extrovert, like Noel, Seattle is a little bit different animal, right? People don't really want to hang out. It's harder to make friends there. So it's not necessarily a freeze. It's just that it is a true introverted city. So people vibe well with people that they know or that they get to know or whatever. It's just trying to get to that point where you can get to know a person. So that becomes frustrating and it's hard for people when they're instantly anyplace else. Again, they're the bomb, right? Anyplace else, they can easily make friends. And some of the women who are, pretty someplace else and can get plenty of friends and plenty of dudes falling all over them when they come here, it's just not the case, right? Because again, you're a dime a dozen. Here, it's a different thing. And so I wrote all these things down. Don't keep up with the Joneses because again, you're gonna always be falling behind. Always. I mean, we are the land of billionaires. You got Paul Allen, billionaire. You got Bill Gates, billionaire. You got Jeff Bezos, ultra billionaire. Sometimes Steve Ballmer comes here because he used to live here, billionaire. So, and then you have a lot of people that are super ultra wealthy. So, you know what I mean? Like you can't keep up with the Joneses. You have other people who own businesses that do so well and you would never know it. So you can't, and their kids benefit. So they live good. You can't just go off of that. I don't care what type of job you have. You make $100,000 a year. That doesn't mean that you should go get an apartment that's $2,800 and be like, yeah. I would basically go for the most safest, affordable place I can find, cheapest place that I can find, and then therefore you have a load of money where you can live whatever type of life you really want to, right? Versus being stuck because you have to pay for pomp and circumstances, right? The same building that you're living at that has all the pretty, curtain wall and the glass and everything, they build it here in Seattle and it costs the same. The buildings cost the same, but the rent is way, 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 way different, right? Because they know they can get the money out of folks in Seattle. They can't get the money out of the folks in Tacoma because people in Tacoma make a lot less. So that's why I saw a lot of people move down here from Seattle because they can make it here. It's not so hard in terms of financials as it would be in Seattle. So the same developers, flipping homes even, you can flip a home here and flip a home in Seattle and the costs are the same. It doesn't change. But what you can charge in terms of rents and all of that and selling the house are way different. So why blow all your money in a place where there's no difference versus another place? I never quite understand that. But again, people come here and they see Seattle and they love the pretty. People, especially Americans, we like the pretty. People go into a house and it has all the bells and whistles, but they'll understand that there's certain things that house is probably lacking. They don't know what's behind the wall. It could be rotten wood, but they go for the pretty, and they don't understand that you can make anything beautiful and charge whatever you want. But when it comes to really finding something that has something that's truly authentic, that's a different story. Weather's difficult for people because it doesn't rain all the time here. People say that, but there are long periods of where it's dark gray skies and you get that drizzle. Now that to me is annoying, the drizzle, because if I want to mow the grass or whatever, do something outside, I have to sit and plan around that. It's not like most places in the country where it's just hard thunderstorms and lightning and all of that. We don't really get thunderstorms and lightning. We just get that little bit of drizzle. And so that's difficult for people. Coming again, when we were back home, there was lightning and thunderstorms, and then the next day was bright sunny skies. So the kids were thrown off. First, they were happy that there was lightning because they never see it. Excuse me. And two, the thunder. They never hear it. So it was exciting. And then the next day, it's bright and sunny. And they're like, I don't get it. Because here, it doesn't work like that. So for the rest of the country, people are used to that. But when you come up to the Pacific Northwest, things are a little bit different, right? And the farther north you go, the more that is the case, right? So here in Tacoma, more sunnier days, really, than what you get up in Seattle. But it's still very similar. People get overwhelmed. Unless you're from a city that's very similar. And I'm not saying like big city, but unless you're from a city that's very similar. And in my opinion, Boston, which I went to, San Francisco, New York, are very similar to Seattle in terms of just vibe. Unless you're from those places, it's going to be a little bit harder for you, right? Because again, those places are kind of they're very expensive places to begin with, and they're very business focused. Seattle is such a different animal, right? Hong Kong and Seattle are very similar too. I went to Hong Kong and Seattle, very similar. People bump into you. They don't say excuse me. They're just one track mind. People won't talk to you. They won't say hi. They won't say nothing. They won't hold the door. People say, well, that's the case everywhere, but it's a little different. It's funny. You can tell when someone's a tourist or they're not from here because people here going up escalators, they stand to the side, right? They stand to the right. And when you go to places like, I don't know, Hong Kong, or you go to Seoul, Korea, people stand to the side of the elevator. Why? Because people are always so busy. They go up the left side, or depending upon the country and how you drive, they go up on the left or right side, if it's in Japan. And because they have places to go, they can't just stand and wait. But people in most of the country, they just stand on the escalator. They just stand wherever. They stand in the middle. But here, people kind of say, move out of the way. I need to go up the side. I have some place to go. And so that is a little different. And I know that's just a silly example, but things like that, you notice. It's a really, really different city altogether. And so I think it throws people off. Right? It's harder to make friends because it's an introverted city. It just is. It's hard to enjoy the city because of the lack of friends, but when you couple that with being in an expensive city to begin with and you're living like the Joneses, then it's hard for you to really go and explore and see what the city is about or the region, what it's about. And then when you couple that with the drizzle, it makes things a little bit more difficult. I know people who have lived in LA and they've come up here and then they said it sucks and they went back to LA or they want to go back to LA. LA and Seattle are way completely different. It just is. You can't even put the two in the same category at all. They're just way, 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 way different. Just the vibe, everything, it's way different. Seattle has a way of showing you that they have money, Seattleites. And the city, I should say, has a way of showing you that it has money without saying it. LA, it's all about flash. Either you have it or you don't. Seattle, it's a little bit more undercover, right? And I think that throws people off, and they think that the city's kind of hoity-toity. And in a lot of respects, it kind of is. Tacoma, different animal. Tacoma is more or less like any other, and I'm not trying to promote Tacoma, but I say this to people because a lot of people, when they come and they visit Seattle, they spend most of their time in Seattle. It's a fact. And then they see the beautiful water, they see the beautiful mountains, they see the beautiful scenery and the buildings and the vibe and everything, and that's what they fall in love with. And that's the cool thing. But when you live here, it's different, right? And if you're coming from a place where you're used to certain, comforts, and again, most of the country is similar to that, and then you come here, it's a polar opposite. And then people end up hating it. Some people, I should say. Some people hate it. But again, I'm of the mindset that, how Seattle makes you feel is a big factor of how you make it, right? So your success here in this city is pretty much up to you. Are you able to overcome those things? Some people can't. They just it's hard. It's a hard adjustment. And so when people say it sucks, it maybe sucks for you, but it doesn't suck for me, and it doesn't suck for a lot of people. A lot of people love it. They love those types of things about the city because that fits their personality. Not every place, and I say this to people all the time, not every place is meant for you. It just isn't. This is not the city for a large population of people. It just isn't. I use this example. There was a woman walking down the street on the sidewalk completely with no pants on, no underwear on, nothing. Now, she could have been strung out on drugs, or she could have just forgot she didn't have pants and underwear on. I don't know. It was a hot day. And so I mentioned that on my Facebook, and some people laughed. Some people said drugs, and I said, yeah, probably. And some people were just shocked, saying, what is the world coming to? And they were just amazed that this is the case, right? Now, it is shocking. Don't get me wrong. I think anybody would be kind of shocked. But it's not the first time I've seen people walk outside naked. I've seen it in Seattle. I've seen it here. And sometimes those people may have had issues. I don't know. But it's not illegal here, really, right? There's nothing on the books here that talks about indecent exposure like that. It just isn't. Now, it may be a public disturbance if the police say put clothes on, but I think it's that way in Portland too. Like, cops really don't care about that. Even in Seattle, they have the summer solstice parade where people on their bicycles, it's a parade of bicycles where people are totally naked, men and women. And they bicycle through Fremont and all of that type of stuff. Happens every year, and nothing, right? Even people go to Seattle Center where you see the Space Needle and all of that stuff, and the museums and all of that, right downtown, close to downtown. And those people are naked. I've seen, there's videos where you see people during the summer solstice, they go all the way to that area, men and women, naked, right there in the big fountain, playing in the fountain, and there's kids walking around, right? It's a different place. Even San Francisco is not that broad-minded. If you did that in San Francisco, you'd probably be arrested, right? They don't really allow, and a lot of people think San Francisco is very liberal-minded, but when it comes to Seattle, not as much, right? Seattle is it's a different place. Things are viewed differently. Even during the summer solstice, there's kids, like people, not in the parade necessarily, but there are kids who are there while the parade is going on, right? It's people view things here a little bit differently than they do in other places. Things are a lot more tolerated. So if you're coming from a place where, like my hometown, for example, that's something that people would probably frown upon. Like, they wouldn't stand for that. Some people, they wouldn't stand for that. They would think that it's just appalling. But here, it's kind of like, if that's what they want to do, that's what they want to do. It's kind of like, let them be them. And so as long as it's not affecting me, I can care less. So that's different. It's really, really different. So again, I think for some people, I think the biggest thing for them And I say to some, don't move here if this fits you. If you can't adjust to change rapidly, then it's probably not the place for you. If you are so caught up into the pomp and circumstance and you want to live like the Joneses and you want to live like, in the nice, poshest places and, this, that, and the other, it's not going to work out well for you sometimes, right? It's just not. You're not going to really get the full experience and enjoy it. It's going to always be a rat race for you, constantly trying to catch up and keep up. If you can't deal with gray skies and the weather being the way that it is, it's not going to be the place for you. If you're an extrovert and you have to be around people all the time and have friends really quick and you expect that and you expect that, it's going to be easy, dating here, I assume, is going to be difficult, and meeting friends here is difficult. Me, I don't need to date, and for as far as the friends thing, I don't really care. Those are things that are going to be a challenge for you, and the cost. It's expensive. It's expensive. If you're someone who really loves a car and you don't really want to, bicycle or take public transit or anything like that, it's getting more challenging because Seattle is trying to push towards becoming more of a city that relies heavily on public transportation. It is. Parking's more expensive. Car tabs are extraordinarily expensive. The roads are super crowded and narrow. Uh, Parking everywhere, and the roads are just, even though they're narrow to begin with, people park on both sides. So then you have to. It's just hard to navigate. If you love big vehicles, it's going to be difficult for you. So it's a change that some people don't expect. When they fly in, they see one thing, and when they live here, the reality starts to set in. And so I think that is why. So again, it's how you take it. Anyhow, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope I wasn't rambling too much. Hope you're having a great Friday. I'm glad it's Friday. And until next time, I will see you. Take care.